Okay, good morning. This conversation is probably going to be pretty brief. Um, I don't know if I'll open it up or not, but I just had a few things on my mind as I'm working through this hell thing. And Nate did a live stream last night trying to get some questions prompted, and some came out of it. I've made a Google Doc, which I'm open to sharing with people if they're interested, of just all the various questions from the different platforms that people have had about hell as it relates to Christian universalism and cares and concerns. And then Harris Upcycle shared with me an article about, it's from I don't know what the guy's real name is. He has like a pen name, I guess, of his name is, what is his name? Yeah. Codex Justinianus. And his Ancient Insights is his blog, I guess. So it's not really a Substack. And it's an article on here. I'll present it. What's up, morning, buddy? But it's called Why I'm Not a Universalist. It says Biblical Studies, Church Fathers, Church History, Eschatology, New Testament, Old Testament Theology. And here it has the icon of the Last Judgment. I said probably my favorite one. So I'm no expert in iconography, for sure. And I for sure do not understand. I'm not a symbolism master. I mean, this kind of looks like it's like a devil riding a beast. But like this is also a beast of some sorts, but then this would be Leviathan. I don't know. I have never heard anybody talk about the icon of the Last Judgment, but it's an interesting image, right? And this is a really long article. So like I skimmed it. I'm not dedicating myself to just reading this whole thing before it. But what I would say in, what's up, Ron, Chad? What I would say in just my reading of parts of it and my brief perusal of it is that it strikes me as very analytical. And I don't know. I was talking. Sorry, I have coughs. I was talking to Stephen D20 about it this morning, and I shared it with him. As someone who's also Orthodox, and I think who has a very similar heart to mine and sees things somewhat similarly to me. There's definitely I have a pretty deep resonance with Stephen about these things, and what I was just telling him, I don't know, he just sent me an audio message that I'm very interested in listening to. What's up, Peter? I don't think analysis is the way that you get to truth. I guess that, or that's the way to say it, or discursive reasoning, or the intellect in a way. It's a, and again, this is that saying that I found in a comment once, I think is very good, which is that perhaps, I'll add this, perhaps all roads don't lead up the mountain, or not all roads end up in God or salvation, but you will find God on every road. I really, really like that. And I think that's true, because I think God is everywhere present, filling all things. And, where will I go to escape from your presence? I don't think it's possible to go anywhere to escape from his presence. And I very much like the image that all of reality exists in the light and the energy and the fire of God, essentially. And then based on that, your orientation to that and your attunement to that and your cooperation with that, your submission to that reality, I think that then is your, I guess that then that relates to how you experience that reality, either positively or negatively. And so all that to say, even though I would say analysis does not lead up the mountain to truth, you will find God on that path, on the analytical path. And it's probably because all mechanisms, all mammon is mechanism, mammon is currency. You cannot serve both God and mammon. So all mechanisms, any mechanism to God, you'll find God within any mechanism to God, because that you'll find if you follow that mechanism faithfully to its end, you'll see that it ends in a kind of death. And if you do that faithfully, whether it's analysis or trying to live forever or, I don't know, fill in the blank, you'll if you follow that faithfully, you'll find that it ends in death, and I think you find God in death. So, Ron, you say, would you find God in Baal and Moloch worship? Well, I mean, yes. Yeah, I mean, this is like C.S. Lewis's or what you meant for evil, God meant for good, or like Emeth in C.S. Lewis's The Last Battle, which is what all kind of universalists, even though I don't think C.S. Lewis was a self-affirmed, self-identifying universalist, universalists love to point to Emeth in The Last Battle as a, and I have many friends who love Lewis, know Lewis better than me, talk about Emeth who aren't universalists. So obviously you can like Lewis and not be a universalist, but Emeth was a worshiper of Tash, not Aslan, in the Chronicles of Narnia. Chronicles of Narnia. What do they say in that SNL bit? Mr. Pibb and Red Vines equal crazy delicious. It's a very funny old SNL skit. Andy Samberg, and then who's the other guy? What's the other guy's name? I can imagine him. He's also the guy who does this skit which is one of my favorite SNL skits with, I think it's Steve Martin, and then this guy, I can see him, of like, it's on like saving money, and it's just like, wait a minute, we really want this. Should we buy it? No. God, what is that bit? It's a great one. Anyhow, for those who have resonance in memory, you'll know what I'm talking about. So Emeth, he was worshiping Tash, Baal, Moloch, whatever, and he was doing it out of a pure heart. And so you could say, even though the narrative and the image that he was looking at was false, his adverbial, his heart, his way of looking at it was holy. And through that thing, even though he didn't perceive it consciously, was Aslan. And that's how I think these things work. It's the good Buddhist, it's the good whomever, I can argue propositionally about the merits of Christian doctrine, but at the end of the day, what matters is being holy. Yeah. So one of the questions that I had, and this is what I want to say to the stream, and then I'm probably just going to shut it down. I don't even think I'll open it up. Well, I want to say two things. I want to say this first. It's an idea, but we might not get to it. It's my question. It's one of my questions that I have towards the end. It'll probably come up in this discussion. I feel like this could be an ongoing eternal series, and that would maybe be eternal conscious torment for a lot of people. But okay, let me share I'm going to share the questions that I have here. So this is my Google Doc. Here's what I'm saying. Where does our goodness come from? So this is like a Pelagian argument, kind of where it's dealing with Pelagianism. If salvation isn't based on our merits stemming from our own energies, so like our goodness doesn't come, if you would argue that your goodness or one's goodness, their acts of goodness, the fruit of the Spirit does not come from them per se, it comes from God, you have that hard dichotomy. How I've often said, every meaningful philosophical conversation has to do with the nature of the God-man relation. Where are those lines and how do you draw them and what are they? And I would say that you can make distinctions without division, which is the same thing of an intra-Trinitarian argument, actually. And whatever, you can follow the implications of that if you want to. So if salvation isn't based on our merits stemming from our energies and is a gift of God, what is the nature of one's capacity or incapacity to accept and receive that gift? And to me, that gets at this super old school. Let's find it. Let's go find it. Randa's United Conversation is that you art mindful of him. I think this is what Jeff named it. Yeah, that's it. I'll put it in the comments if people want to check it out. Let me see. I'll share the screen so you can see what it looks like. So this is it. What is man that thou art mindful of him? So this is a conversation from 4 years ago with me and Michael and Cal. It's not who I thought was in it, but I'm almost certain that's the one I'm thinking of. And I think it's where we talk about a narco-British invasion. Also, Tayo low-key dropped a new Randos United for those who are interested in that out there. But I'll put it in the comments. And that conversation, that conversation is still the conversation to me. It's the core of all these, and it has to do with ontology and how do we exist. What is man? What is a man? Who are you? It's that question. Because I think that question is the thing behind the thing behind the thing. And how do you exist? That question. How do you exist? What is existence? What are you? Because I think, I really do think, and I'll just probably leave, I don't know, I'll leave it at that and go look at some questions and then close it. Because I think if you understand that question properly, all of this stuff resolves. All of it. And if you don't understand that question, and you can't understand that question, the question of hell will be continually perplexing. I was going to say eternally perplexing, and we'll get into the nature of eternity and what all those things mean. But okay, let's see. C Money says, what if the same logic can be applied to rationality or reasoning or Luciferian intellect? I'm not overly familiar with the Luciferian Ahriman kind of distinctions. Steven is saying, Steve, well, I'm not going to share what you're telling me without talking about it first. So the Luciferian intellect, I'm guessing what this means is that, so back when Twitter was Twitter, like 10 years ago or something, one of my super old tweets was, you can't reason with a rationalist that rationalism is irrational. And this is kind of what I mean about God being found on every road, because reason and rationality and logic, if you follow it to its end, you'll find that it's the Ouroboros and it's self-defeating. It's kind of like there's nothing within science that can tell you, that can prove science to you as an absolute standard. There's nothing in logic that can prove to you that logic is an absolute standard. Now, I'm not arguing for anti-science and I'm not arguing for anti-logic, but they are a closed loop. And this is what I call the hard problem of all perception. The seer, the perceiver, is fundamental to perception. So, and an antiodromia of using the devil to find God. I don't even know what that word means, brah. An antiodromia? Is this the right word? Good Lord, with the vocab. The tendency of things to change into their opposites, especially as opposed to governing principle of natural cycles and psychological development. The remorseless in antiodromia between good luck and bad. What a hell of a word. I should have known that word. That's right up my alley. Because look at over here. It's the Tao. Dancing with a psychic shadow. What is this? Sun, light, warm, aggressive, independent, self-sufficient, positive. Moon, darkness, cool, passive, dependent, nurturing, negative. Yeah. Relational ontology. Simultaneous reciprocity, emanation and emergence. Yeah. So Ron, I don't know if I ever answered your thing or where you were going, but yeah, the Jungian idea that would basically equate with the yin yang of Taoism. And that's, I haven't read the book yet, but I got it for Christmas, Christ the Eternal Tao, written by is it, that's not Archimandrite. What's the guy's name? Yeah, it's Higher Monk Damascene. There it is. Higher Monk Damascene. Christ the Eternal Tao. And it's, see, like this. In the beginning was the Tao, and the Tao was with God, and the Tao was God, and the Tao was made flesh and dwelt among us. The Gospel of John. Translated from the Chinese. Is the Chinese the, the Word of God? Or is it just in, the King James English? Because logos is Tao in Chinese. So, so SG, do we still want hell-related questions, or do we have enough? We definitely have enough, but you can send them in, and I will add them to my Google Doc. You can either, I would ask if you're going to add them, go to I have a community post in YouTube or a Twitter post where I ask for comments, put them there. Because if you put them in here, especially while I'm in StreamYard, I can't copy them. And it would be a pain in the butt to find them. So put them in one of those two places if you want to still put them there. Afriel, I think you can find God down the bad path, but it isn't recommended. Exactly. Yeah. I wouldn't prescribe it, but that's, there's a difference between prescribing something and acknowledging that you can still find God there, totally. It is indeed an incredible word. Money, the more you get dominated by focusing your attention in the conscious mind, the more you become possessed by the intellectual complexes. Amen, dude. Ups, you're here, buddy. Yeah, I plan on looking at it more. I'm not going to promise I will read the whole thing, but I have enough respect for you, and you are in my consciousness Congress Dunbar number, and you're a brother in many different ways. You're a TLC brother, you are a Orthodox brother, and you're just you're someone that I respect, and so of course I'm not going to give it the short shrift. Enantiodromia implies that there's an equal polarity of good and evil in all things, implication regarding man's potential for heaven and hell. Yeah, good and evil are a hard way to emphasize that. I almost like light and dark. Light and dark is almost the best image for me. And again, all models are false, some are useful. Because there's a couple verses that spring to mind with that, because I would say, light and dark, and then where will I go to escape your heavens? If I ascend to the heights, you're there. If I go to the depths of Sheol, you're there. In absolute darkness or death, trampling down death by death, I think you're going to find God. What's the psalm that talks about like darkness is not dark to you? No. Where's that from? Psalm 139. Even the darkness is not dark to you. Let's share it. Always got to bring in some Bible. English Standard Version, New International Version, King James. Yea, the darkness hideth not from thee, but the night shineth as the day. The darkness and the light are both alike to thee. That's great. That's a great verse. Light and dark, there's a distinction without division. In God, there's a unity behind light and dark. What is the unity behind any distinction? One of my favorite Lukeisms. Okay. I'm going to keep trying to work through these. Stephen, you've made it here. Consciousness is conscience. Coming from the outside, not inside, maybe. Consciousness is conscience. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting I really like that Cormac quote, which is it's himself that the coward betrays first. After that, all other betrayals come easily. And what that seems to me is a betrayal of conscience. It's a denial of your integrity, like your Sherry Jobian integrity. It's lying to yourself. And I think that's I don't know. Is betraying your own conscience forgivable? I don't know. Maybe if you forgive yourself. Man, that might be the most satanic of all sins. I don't know. That's rough. That's a rough one. Afriel, there's an asymmetry of opposites with good and evil. Mills told me that. I forget where he got it. Okay, let's get through this and shut her down, because I got to say my voice. And Stephen, outside is the inside is the outside. My point remains. My darkest nights are days to you. Yep. See money. By trampling down death, you find God. By killing death, you find life. Chad, is gravity a marker of morality? If so, what does this have to do with hell? Is gravity a marker of morality? So I don't know exactly what you're getting at, Chad. What that makes me think of, though, is like the moral framework is the wrong framework. I think that making morality your primary framework is part of the whole problem of why you get into hell and justice and all these things, as being primarily punitive and retributive, and it elevates it conflates wrath with godly justice. And in godly justice, the right hand and the left hand of God, the red right hand, and justice and mercy are one. Wrath and mercy are one. Again, behind all these, this is divine simplicity, the person of God. Behind all seeming opposites is a unity, which is God. The right and the left hand has what? A body and a heart behind it, which is the essence of God. And if you elevate either of those things to absolutes, you misunderstand. Absolute mercy. So again, with universalism, that's not what I'm saying. Absolute mercy. Because absolute mercy demands justice. Those two things in harmony is the way. So I don't know. Gravity is love, and love isn't moral, and which is, I don't know. Jason Schweizer, my boy Jason, sent a message the other day, and it's connected to my boy Rod. One of his great things, which is this Rumi quote, which is, what is it? Here we go. Let's share it. Share screen one more time. Last share screen. Here we go. Can we see this? Out beyond the ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there when the soul lies down in that grass. The world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other don't make any sense. It's probably a really good way to shut her down, I think. All right, guys. Thanks for coming, and see you at 10:30. I don't know how that will all go, how we'll open it up. It has evolved into something that was not my initial thought of what it would be. But there will probably be more things coming. I'm probably not going to stop talking about hell anytime soon. So we'll see how it goes. Thanks for coming, and yes, if you get the left hand and right hand out of balance, wouldn't that disorder become hellish? Yeah, either way would become hellish, where wrath becomes ultimate or mercy becomes ultimate, which would be almost like aspects of the malevolent masculine or the malevolent feminine. Like the malevolent feminine would be the hell of the devouring, enabling mother, and the hell of the authoritarian, domineering, lording it over, masculine, justice, wrathful father. Both are wrong. You need the mother and the father in harmony. That's what I would say. The convo is at 10:30 Central Time. So see you all there. End in the stream. Much love. See you, cats.